Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Joining us here on our global webcast for the Pirelli World Challenge Championships. This is the Pirelli World Challenge Utah Grand Prix presented by Security National Mortgage. And as you can see, taking a look at the pre-grid in pit lane, it is supercar time. It is the GT SprintX event that is about to unfold. Technically, three different classes, the GT, GT Cup, and GTS. Within each are Pro, Pro-Am, and Am-Am categories. Actually, in the GT Cup and GTS, they're both Pro-Am and Am-Am only. And this one should be a good one. Again, SprintX rules, and Cal, it's been a while since our last SprintX race. Cal Fish joining me, of course. Jeff Lepper will be down in pit lane. We should probably let everybody know, just give them a visit again as to what those regulations are.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great format. Last round of this championship was back at Lime Rock Memorial Day weekend. And essentially what we've got here, the typical sprint format is extended to 60-minute race distance. Pit stop has to occur between the 25 and 35-minute mark. Mandatory driver change. Pit lane delta, the amount of time you spend on pit lane, is 60 seconds for the Pro division and 90 seconds for the Pro-Am division. So that's certainly significant. And we saw in some of the earlier rounds with teams trying to trim that, got run afoul of the regulations there and got a penalty for it. So everyone's got to be on their toes, including the teams. And there's a great format. Co-drivers are excellent. Some really GT racing stars from around the globe are here this weekend.
They are. I mean, when they bring in the SprintX format, and I mean, the sprint field in this championship is stellar. Then you bring in the SprintX co-drivers, which are, more factory drivers, globally recognized, some of the best in the world. It just ramps it up spectacularly, and it's a lot of fun. You were talking about that pit delta time. Number of teams that I talked to earlier in the weekend, they were saying, one, qualifying has never been more important because these cars are so aero sensitive. You get behind somebody, it's tough to pass. And they said, so that also makes one other thing important, is that if you can pick up a spot or two in the pits by, as you said, trimming that to 60.01 as somebody else goes 60.8, that's a huge thing. But, boy, you get it wrong, it's a huge penalty.
It really is, and we saw a lot of drivers have to do a drive-through penalty at the opening rounds, and even at the second round of the championship at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, people were still getting it a little bit wrong. So it's a learning curve, it's a new format, it's an exciting one. And I think by now, even though we've had the break, I think a lot of people and teams have had time to digest the format.
And as you can see, the engines have come to life, and this field is heading out on its pace laps. And keep in mind, this is the GT division. And just due to the nature, if you haven't been with us previously this year, due to the nature of the build of these cars, they really don't work well with a standing start configuration. The drive lines just aren't designed to it. So this year, every start in the GT category, whether it's the Sprint Series or in SprintX, all starts are rolling starts. And I'll tell you what, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference here because we have seen some amazingly intense stuff heading down into turn one here.
And talking to the drivers this morning, Greg, a lot of the drivers are concerned about, surviving the first couple of corners. We saw Alvaro Perrin get knocked out of competition here last year, and that served a big penalty because, remember, your second round of the weekends is established in terms of your grid spot by your fast lap. So if you have a problem early,
right,
it can really kind of throw you down a big hole to dig your way out of for the rest of the weekend.
We just saw a shot of Alvaro Perrin, and last year, if you think about after a caution on a restart, and Michael Cooper got a great run, went way down to the inside into turn one. Perrin was way to the left of the normal line. Cooper was so far inside, he was completely out of Alvaro's mirror vision. He had no clue he was there, turned in on the normal line, and at that moment, they came together. So, I mean, it's just that kind of thing. It's such a wide track, wide entry down into turn one at the end of a very long straight. There's a lot you have to be very mindful of here. And literally they got some instruction. They said, that's fine if you're going to make a pass, but actually get closer to your competitor so we can see in the mirrors.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a wide straightaway there. You do lose the ability to see in the side view mirrors to where your competitor is. You really ideally need a spotter down there, Greg. Right. Someone in that big grandstand down there, which is a great viewing area, by the way, for the whole facility to kind of call the action down there in turn one, kind of telling you if you're clear or not, if someone's coming down the inside in a hurry.
Now we're running the outer course, or the outer loop as they call it here, 15 corners. It just bypasses the real twisty inside section of this track, and you go literally from turn 6 through a fast right right-hander, that a decreasing radius called witchcraft, climb up into the attitudes, plummet down, and then complete the lap. This outer loop is quick. Average speeds here, we're well over 100 miles an hour in qualifying for average speed. Here's a look at the attitudes. That's the first, second, and then the drop. TV doesn't do justice to just how steep a drop that is. You fall down into that bad attitude, as they call it.
You do, and then you actually climb the hill up here into Tuella Corner, so that gives you a bit more grip entry. But we're going to see some things different this year. They're not going to have the track limits that they had last year. You remember the Acuras in particular, just cutting straight over the attitudes and shortcutting the circuit. That is not allowed. I think we had 170 track violations yesterday in terms of the limits. Another big one is turn 11 as well. So everyone's got to be on their toes. They'll get some warnings, and then they're going to start to suffer some penalties. As I understand it, it'll be a 5-second add-on to your race time if you do get called on that, with potential for more if you continue to abuse the system.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch this unfold, and we're getting close to seeing it all start here as we're heading into the last two turns, fittingly called wind up and release. And then the pace car now, you see that beautiful safety car from Cadillac, the ATS-VR, heading into the pit lane. We're into our VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone. On the pole, Peter Cox will be leading the field to the start. And watch for it, folks. 3,500 feet down to the other end here of this desert lies turn 1. We're ready to go racing for an hour. We're green, and wow, did Cox get a launch, and Long up the inside.
Yeah, Long making a move, but look at that. Ryan Eversley trying to thread his way through with a second of the Acuras. The Acuras had a lot of straightaway speed. Mancinelli's been dropped a little bit. Qualified second. Looked like he's going to go through. Oh, no, and he takes a big wide entry there. Daniel Mancinelli, very brave on cold tires, relatively speaking, and runs a little bit wide. Drops a wheel as he exits 1.
That did give him the inside into that very quick right-hander turn 2. He's there. Long. Nope, not going to attack. Eversley right there in the 43 and third. And then the number 3 Cadillac, Ricky Taylor, on board.
Here comes Perez side by side with Michael Cooper as they head down to the hairpin. Look at this, 3-4 wide as they get into the brake zone.
That's the Black Rock hairpin. Great overtaking area if you get the run. Oh, a touch!
Bump there, but D. Allen Perent. Perent is on a mission right now, heading to the front.
He absolutely was not going to waste time. Knew this was the opportunity in these opening few corners to maybe make up a little bit of ground, and he's jumped on that opportunity, as you said.
Sellers has had another good start as well there in the second of the K-Pax McLarens in the light blue and black machine there.
First time up through the attitudes. Here they go down the hill. Boy, Peter Cox has just said, see ya. And it was obviously the side-by-side action behind him of Mancinelli that has given him that little bit of breathing room.
Well, the Acuras rolled off the truck very quick here, Greg.
Did.
They were quickest in the first practice. Mark Wilkins and Peter Cox sharing that top spot. But look at that. Perent wants a little bit more, looking for a way by Adderley Fong, who's had a great start to this race.
Yeah, Adderley really came alive at Road America.
Perent
the
to the
sprint
inside.
race.
He looked to the outside now. Look at that. He is pushing hard.
He's got the nose
he
there.
Does. He's got that position.
Wow.
Great racecraft there by Alvaro.
Understanding where to put the car when, and he is through. That should put him up into the 6th spot. It does. Wow. Great opening for Alvaro Perent. Fong, Dial, Cooper, and Sellers now round out the top 10. And look at the move by Cooper down to the inside here, trying to get by Dial. Can't get it done. And Fong coming back after. Oh, was that a touch?
There could have been a bump there, or otherwise Adley had a little twitch there, whereas he's trying to jockey for position with Alvaro at the apex of turn 1. Everyone putting on the line. Let's take another look here.
Oh, I think Alvaro
he slipped a little bit.
Yeah,
he slipped a little bit there. And we didn't want deja vu after the start here last year with, as you mentioned, Cooper getting into Perent down there in the brake zone.
Almost looked like Alvaro maybe got a little too much curb there and the car skated. But Adderley doing a nice job of reacting to it, opening the wheel up so it wasn't a hard hit.
Adderley skipped the last round of the Sprint Championship at Mid-Ohio, but coming off a brilliant performance at Road America where he had 2 poles and a victory for the Absolute Racing Bentley team.
Yeah, had to conflict, had to go race for that same team over the China GT Series. There is Pat Long. And, you know, you look at the points coming in here. I like how you put it in an earlier conversation. The driving duo of Michael Jordan with a 23-point lead. I mean, if you're into numerology, this is just too right. But
crazy.
This is what Pat needed. He needed to have a really good run here early and hopefully stay with it here and have the number 8 and the number 2 struggle a little bit, and they're behind him at least.
Well, I was there after the qualifying session this morning by his pit box, and I've never seen Pat Long look so happy after qualifying third. The reason being is his main contenders in the championship were behind him, and they struggled there yesterday. Talking to he and Jörg Bergmeister, they said they had a huge understeer in the car, couldn't really get to grips with it, made some changes overnight, and suddenly the front was dialed in. Michael Shine as well said, yes, we're in better shape now.
And turn in is key, isn't it?
It really is. You need the total package around here. A lot of corners, Greg. So if you're giving up a little bit, percentage of grip through one, that adds up over 20 corners.
Yeah, it does. It does. This place is a challenge. And generally, as the race gets longer into it, the track gets slipperier because more of that dust comes up on the track. And so each corner, you tend to just suddenly the grip's a little less. So you need a car that is adaptable as the race unfolds, too, I think.
Yeah, you do. And I think there's a few words. Temperature is a big one this weekend, and tire degradation has really been huge here this weekend. And a lot of the drivers have said, I've got to be calm during this opening salvo. I've got to give my co-driver something to live with for the back half of this race.
Getting a look there at the 75, always evolving AIM Autosport Nissan, and Frankie Montecalvo, who is a former GTA champion and is always a front runner. That is in the leader of the Pro-Am class. Frankie, the M component in there, and Ricardo Sanchez will be taking over after the driver change. But Frankie put in a stellar lap in qualifying, well up in that field of pros.
Yeah, Nissan obviously very strong here last year. Heidkar very, very dominant in terms of the weekend, but you know, Frankie hasn't done a ton of track time this year, so for him to come back and put in a top 10 qualifying run was important. He said he got a little bit of traffic on his quali lap. He said it could have been a bit higher still, but he said he was one of the guys I'm talking about, Greg, who said, I've got to just be calm, not take too much of these tires in these early laps.
Yeah, they were excited because Heidkar, when he dominated last year, this car is a slight evolution better in many, many ways, and they were anxious to get here. They thought they'd be in with a shot. Now, just, what is it, 1, 2, 3 cars behind him, you see that red Porsche, that's the number 16 of Mike Shine. That's second in Pro-Am. Right behind him is James Safronis in the number 14, that bright blue Global Motorsports Group Porsche, running third in the Pro-Am category right now. And he's debuting a new co-driver this weekend, and it's a young man who is wickedly quick in these Porsches, Mathieu Jaminet. So that's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, absolutely. He's shown a lot of pace on U.S. soil here this year. So one of these Porsche factory guys, one of the young guns brought in here, and they don't disappoint. They're always on pace and laying it down.
This is a big story here. Leading in the Am-Am category right now, it's some drivers we're very familiar with, Chris Wilson and Drew Riggets, but not familiar with this livery nor this car. They made a last-minute change from the team and the manufacturer that they've been running with, joined up with our Ferry Motorsports, stepped into this beautiful 013 Ferrari 458 Italia, and when they first started, they said, oh, the car, it's so different than the front engine V12 we were running. And they said, then they tweaked on it and tweaked on it and tweaked on it. And talked to the crew last night, and they said, we really softened everything up just so they could feel it, then started tweaking on it. And Chris Wilson is a pretty savvy driver. He said we finally hit the spot, and both he and, more importantly, Drew were real comfortable.
That's
with it
the real key. You need a car that both drivers can drive. He said, I could live with it. He said, I wouldn't run in real fast lap times, but he said, as we softened the car off, Drew Riggets' times, to me, the delta came down considerably. So he said, for me, it was like driving a single-seater again. He said, I haven't driven a single-seater in decades, so not a good transition.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a look at the 09 that is leading the GTS category, and it's a team we've seen occasionally this year. It's Jason Alexandridis. That's the Racers Group, the LaSalle Solutions Adobe Road Winery, Aston Martin Vantage GT4, and has a slight lead right now over the number 47, and that too is a cool program to have here. It's the NOLA Sport Porsche, Jason Hart and Matt Travis, and it's Travis right now that is hounding Jason Alexandridis.
Great to see Jason back, and it's been a while since he's had a lot of seat time, so this is really impressive to see him leading his class right now. He said, I've got a lot in the works for next year, really working hard on the business side, and he said, if things come together there, that will allow me to put together a full race program for next year, so to have him back on the grid full-time would be excellent. Yeah,
he's a great character, a lot of fun to have in the paddock, and in a real battle right now. Matt Travis is showing some speed here as well in that white NOLA Sport Porsche.
Yeah, good little battle here. as always, when you get to this drag strip, it's like a dyno run down here to see who's got the most power, who's got the aero efficiency. It doesn't look like there's too much between them.
No, pretty even, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then that third place car in the back is Ari Balo. That's the Steve Cameron Racing BMW E46 machine, just there flashing underneath, who's having a good run. Meanwhile, up front, Cox leads, but Daniel Mancinelli just threw down fast lap of the race, Cal, 149.9, only driver to go sub 150, and he has been just fast from the drop here this weekend.
Yeah, I just spoke to him a moment ago before he got in the car, and it's been an off here. Wolf Hensler has got some damage. Right rear corner, the Gainesco machine. They just cannot catch a break this year. Tested here, thought they'd be in great shape, and have really been scratching their heads as to the lack of pace here in qualifying. Switched up a little bit with Wolf doing the qualifying chores, and John Fogarty going to be taking over for him. Hopefully, that car does not suffer terminal damage.
Yeah, right now it looks like maybe a cut tire that's just damaged some of the bodywork, and there's the number 4 off. That's Spencer Pompelli.
They were in close proximity, so I wonder if there was a little bit of argy-bargy. Spencer makes his way to pit lane. Oh, there it is. It's on the approach to the Attitudes. Yeah, but it looks like they must have got together. Spencer got up there as Wolf went for a ride, but I didn't see those two cars contact, so
no.
May have already happened on the approach on the run.
That's a good point. Maybe coming out of Witchcraft, that 7th corner of the 15 here. And it's a tricky corner, and you get a run, you're interested in trying to do something with it, but it tightens up on the exit into the Attitudes. And right now, Wolf just trying to get that car down into the pits. He does, and Jeff Lepper is there. Jeff, how bad's that damage look?
It doesn't look too bad, Greg. If you look at the damage here, it pulled the rear bumper away. It's kind of the flapping of the tread there. They got big, heavy damage to the wheel, though, breaking that BBS rim as they're checking all the suspension pieces. They'll probably got some tape here ready to tape up that rear bumper, putting a brand new Pirelli P0 tire and try to get him back in this race.
And the good thing, Cal, is this is a long, long lap here, and if they get it done quick enough, he may not go down a lap. So then he just needs a caution.
Yeah, and it's going to be tricky now, though, because I believe the rule is, Greg, your fast lap, which determines grid for tomorrow, cannot be set with a car that has got a fresh tire on there. So I think whatever time they've done this point will effectively set the grid.
He's
out. As you say, he's just staying on that lead lap. So if he got a big break, and if there was a full course caution, he could then cycle back around at the tail end of the field.
You see Peter Cox in the Acura flashing those lights, and the reason is Daniel Mancinelli. He took another fast lap, and he is now down to within 0.6 of Cox. In that last lap alone, he picked up almost 0.4 of a second on the leader, Cal.
Yeah, Ferrari has been very quick here all weekend long. That's the one mark that everyone's been talking about. Certainly the Acura has been stunning here this weekend. It's got a good straightaway speed to work with, which certainly helps around this circuit.
Right.
But even so, the balance has been there. The team has felt the balance has been there for a number of events, and have just felt they needed a little bit of help with their balance of performance to get to the sharp end. But Peter Cox laid down a beautiful lap. Both he and Mark are very confident with the car's handling, feel the team has done an excellent job, but he is feeling the pressure. It could be a question of Daniel just pushing a little bit harder than Peter would like to go at this stage of the game.
That's a good point. You talked about it, tire dag, and when you do this pit stop, you change drivers, you do not change tires. So the starting driver has got to give something to the second driver to be able to finish the race with at this stage. So it's interesting to see what's unfolding. And as we talk about the driver that'll be taking over from Peter Cox, it's a very fleet Canadian who currently and still holds the GTS track record here. Mark Wilkins is with Jeff Lepper.
Greg Creamer said you still hold the GTS lap record, but it's all about GT and this Acura NSX doing what business as usual, leading in this race today.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter Cox just put a great lap in earlier today in qualifying. He was spectacular, and he did it right away. So he's got a lot of confidence. This Acura NSX GT3 has just been fantastic here. So, kudos to the guys working really, really hard all year long to get the car up front. Here we are, and Peter's doing a great job in the race.
Well, obviously, everybody watching the live stream right now, when are you guys going to pit? Kind of give some of your strategy away to us?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm looking forward to getting in there, and obviously my role will be to take it to the checkered flag and stay out of trouble and try to get ourselves in a good spot for tomorrow. So, a couple races, good opportunity for some points here in a track that's been fairly nice to me over the years. So I think, Peter keeps it out of trouble. I'll try to keep it out of trouble, and we'll get a great result today.
And remember, Cal, per the SprintX rules, the finishing driver today starts tomorrow, so very important for him to get a lap.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Mark said, it's been somewhat kind. I remember when he had the lead in that GTS championship, coming to the final doubleheader, had a lot of pace, had the car on the pole, had issues off the line, and still could have won it on day 2, and then had an engine problem, which was just devastating.
Well, let's put it this way. He's always been wicked quick here.
Right.
Maybe he hasn't always had the best result luck, but he gets around here in a huge hurry. And you saw it, a great move there from a pro. Obviously, I think that Gainesville car is not exactly healthy here. And Cox knew he had pressure from Mancinelli, came up on the back.
He's got big traffic right there.
Yeah, does he get
Will it hurt Mancinelli?
through?
No, it doesn't. So advantage Mancinelli there with that little exchange.
Yeah, that was a great move by Adam Merzon, too, in the 017 K-Sit car. Saw them coming and opened the wheel up a little bit, let them both slide through.
And one thing you're going to notice here this weekend, Greg, a lot of marbling around this racetrack. A lot of teams felt as the track rubbed in, but it doesn't seem to be absorbing the Pirelli tire. It just seems to be shredding it and leaving a lot of pickup around the outside edges of the circuit. So when a driver tries to be kind of get out of the way, they've got to be very conscious of the pickup immediately, which gives you zero grip. But look at this. Eversley now on the attack on Pat Long for third.
Yeah, he really is there. And again, just to say it, Wolf Hensler realized that car's not right. The guys were coming up on him. He just moved out of the way, let him slide through. Long comes through in third, and the gap now back to Eversley, well within that half second. It's close. Look at this.
Yeah, it's Ricky Taylor there just trying. Oh, Eversley, a late move there. Looking to the inside of Pat Long.
This is a turn. You're obviously coming from some significant speed, Cal, down into turn 1, and these cars are very aero dependent. And that abrupt move, not only are you trying to surprise somebody, but are you trying to just suddenly get a boatload of aero on the nose and hopefully be able to make it stick a little better?
Yeah, well, they're so aero dependent, and I think that's why sometimes you kind of stall out a little bit. You'll have a car that's quick, it gets within a couple of car lengths and can't go any further because you've got a lot of downforce created by those front dive planes and such, and suddenly that car in front of you will take it away. So ideally, if you can dive it to the inside, get some air to the front of the car, maintain the grip. If you're tucked right underneath someone, it's really going to hurt your ability to get the car turned in, and then that you keep working in that vein, you're then going to get tire degradation working against you as well.
Looking again at Frankie Monacovo, who not only continues to lead in the Pro-Am category, he's stretched a bit of a margin, but second and third, Cal, Safronis has gone around Mike Shine, picked up second in the Pro-Am category. We've seen this, whether it's been SprintX or Sprint, these two guys, when they're racing, are always within a car length. It's just furiously fun stuff to watch.
It really is, and James Safronis is really, I'd hate to call it back on form because it's never like he lost it, but he didn't get a lot of seat time, and he's really found his rhythm again. The team is just executing on all levels with all of their programs as well. They're having a great run in the mid-season.
Yeah, they're clicking. You know, you think about Alec Udell and that great run to his first pro podium at Mid-Ohio. I mean, everything's working for that team. And James, he's been driving more than he has in the past few years, and you can see, you know, what little bit of rust he had. I think it's fallen off.
Well, and this is a man who battled for overall championships not that long ago, so he's certainly shown talent and speed over the years. Certainly his business commitments and family have taken over a little bit in recent years, but, you know, now he's back into getting in the car on a regular basis and running alongside top pros. They will lead you. They will give you a benchmark. They will give you a carrot to chase in terms of the data that you can then look at and compare.
And in the Am-Am category, still the number 013 of Chris Wilson in the Our Ferry Motorsport Ferrari. In front of Jonathan Ziegelman in the number 30 Momo NGT Ferrari. So good run for them. Well, there's some of that dust that just you run a little wide here, and that's just part of the game of racing at this track.
Well, it can be a bit of gamesmanship as well, because if you got guys with you just suddenly, I'm not too good out of this corner, let me just give him something to work with, and it really keeps the drivers on their toes because the grip level is ever changing. You'll see a little cloud of dust there up ahead of you. You just got to be ready to anticipate the grip level changing there. Yeah,
I was wondering, I thought maybe Monacovo would run a little wide and thrown that up, but I think it may have been Ari Balo in the BMW that put a little bit of that cloud up in the air. Here's that really interesting turn. They call it witchcraft here. And then that climb up into the attitudes.
And it's a nice rhythm there because you can basically use all of the road on the exit of witchcraft and then get all the way back over and set up for the attitudes. There's a good little battle going on right now between Michael Cooper and Ryan Dial. This is a battle for 8th position. Let's not forget Michael Cooper, and Jordan Taylor lead the SprintX point standings right now. So,
and Dial is second with his co-driver.
Good point. So Dial needs to try and keep that Mercedes ahead of him somehow. I think they'll be a little bit disappointed to be running back in the 8th position right now, because that Mercedes looked like it had a lot of pace earlier in the weekend.
They said that's happened in the last couple of races. They said we get out and we test in the first practice session. It feels good and we're on the charts, and then it comes time for qualifying and suddenly we're deep in top 10 and we're not sure where we're losing it, what the reason is for it, but it's certainly surprised them a couple of times.
Yeah, and DL down the straightaway is not showing extreme numbers comparatively. He's at 149, Cooper at 152. Conversely, you got Cox there running at 156, so that's a big spread there down this front straightaway. But this will certainly highlight, you know, if you're trimmed out or if you've got a little bit more power than someone, this will really highlight it here at this circuit.
And Sellers just, every time Sellers gets a little bit of a run going on DL and Cooper, he catches, it looks like traffic at just the wrong time and ends up losing everything he just gained once again. And one of the issues is, as we talked about, the aero sensitivity of these cars. When you're back a ways and you're not in that wash of that car in front of you, you can really throw down some laps. But as you get close, suddenly you lose the stick on the nose just a little bit. So you'll see that accordion and then it opens up again.
Yeah, for sure. And with traffic, you just hope that it's even throughout the course of this 60-minute race with you and your co-driver. But there's certainly an ebb and flow. And as the rhythm section around this racetrack, where it gets tight and twisty, sometimes you just got to wait. The guy can't just hit the disappear button and go away. Watching Dial there really working these curbs, gives gaps Michael Cooper a little bit since the last run through. Cooper certainly comes back at him a little bit down this long front straightaway.
I mean, I just love watching this caliber of driver and the chess match that they have to deal with here in this type of racing with the traffic, and then you get into a situation where you're free of the other class traffic, and now it's just down to mano-a-mano racecraft here, and these cars demand the very best.
Just over 4 minutes before that pit stop window. Oh, problems here for Montecalvo.
Oh, man.
Got a flat tire.
Well, that's been one of the issues. I mean, the stewards here, and there you can see Ricardo, they have had such great speed, and every once in a while something comes up like this where an opportunity for them is just blunted because of something like this. But I was going to say, the stewards have talked about the back edges of these curbs are breaking up just a little bit, and you catch that just wrong. It can cut, doesn't matter how good a tire is, you can cut a tire down.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot can go wrong here, and Ricardo just watches very patiently. And the Tortona team, they're so impressed with him. He has got 0 seat time, Greg, since the last round of the SprintX Championship. And he got in here, and his first flying lap was immediately on the pace. And they just said, he is ready to go. You just hit the on button, and off he goes.
Yeah, impressive stuff. Great addition. So nice to see that team back. This manufacturer back in as well.
They're a quality group, great engineering staff there, a lot of experience there. Andrew Bourdin, ex-driver, kind of gives guidance to that group. The Willis brothers are excellent as well in terms of setting up a car and managing a team.
I had the pleasure of announcing Andrew when he was in the Pro Atlantic Championship, and he was one of the absolute front guns. But the team now working on a damaged car, Jeff.
Yeah, the left rear comes in. They take the air jacks, put this GTR up on the jack stand, put the new tire on. No real big damage to the car, however. There was only the inner piece of the sidewall was all of the Pirelli P0 tire that was remaining.
Boy, sometimes those slings and arrows.
And what a shame it didn't happen 5 minutes later if it was going to happen, because then you'd be in that pit stop window and minimize the damage.
It's a very good point. We are closing in on that. When it hits 35 to go, that window opens. Look at this. Shine has reeled Safronis in. Showed the nose just a little bit. Yeah. James survived this kind of pressure at the most recent sprint round for what, half the race? Got around Shine on the start, and then Shine was able to get back to him.
Trap speed's 149.9 for both cars.
So
they're both Porsches, and we would assume that maybe running similar downforce levels, you'd think Michael Shine would be getting a little bit of an advantage of the draft. Really try and pop to the inside. Got the ABS to work with them. Yes. You can see that one being setting up there. You got to take it. and it's hard to defend and close that gap.
Wow, look at the damage there. Just absolutely shredded that. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and that's that. If you get the run, you can make that happen down into Blackrock. But you have any kind of a little bobble in turn 4, that quick left-hand kink through there, it's not going to happen. And now Shine, let's see if he's able to do something with it. Cal, at this point in the race, again, you've got a 10-minute window once it opens. Oh, look at this traffic that our leaders are in. Cox got through clean. Mancinelli got hung up a little bit, and that is the battle for the front of the GT Cup category, where, by the way, impressive run here. Joyner has made up a little spot and moved up, so we're getting word pits will be open next lap. Cal, do you pit early or do you wait?
Well, I think if you wait, you run the risk. I think if you got poor track position, you could run a bit of a gamble, like we saw with Michael Cooper at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. But I think if you got good track position, you don't want there to suddenly be a safety car out there if something should happen on track and lose all of your margin. So I think for Peter Cox, if he can lay down a really good lap or two here, he's got to wait. He's got to see that board, and then everyone has to see that board. It's not like once the leader sees it, everyone can suddenly dive in. You have to cross the start-finish line, see that pit open board, which everyone will see on this next lap, and then the subsequent lap you can then make the first pit stop if you choose to do it right then.
Well, and he may have gotten a little bit of a break here as well, because Mancinelli got hung up in that traffic, so he got that little bit of a margin. And as you said, now if he can really paste a couple here, he'll be in good shape. But Mancinelli has just been awfully quick.
The one thing that you got to factor in,
around long, by the way.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's big.
That's
the one
big.
thing you got to factor in is if you do have good track position and you suddenly pit, you can suddenly throw your co-driver right out in the middle of traffic as well, even though you're sitting on pit lane for 60 seconds, which is, you know, a good chunk of the lap, obviously, with the lap times around here. So they can certainly work on that in terms of where they think they're going to roll out, but there's a lot of strategy that can come into play here.
You can see Cox understands he wants every bit of clear track he can get right now. That's Yuki Harada, who is the leader in the GT Cup category. Number 55, here's Wilkins suiting up.
Been a great fit between the dynamic of these two boys. And that's hard, Greg. We talked about it in terms of the chemistry that it seems like Jordan Taylor and Michael Cooper established very early.
Yes.
They seem to be very compatible with the car setups, and now we're going to see that pit open board shown to everyone down the start-finish straightaway. And that's important. I think a similar match here has taken a while for this car to show the form, but certainly Wilkins and Peter Cox seem to be a good match as well in terms of what they like from the race car, the dynamic, the chemistry, the personality off the circuit as well.
Yeah, I actually, Cal, I think that board was shown as they started the previous lap, because I'm seeing Perrence and Natalie Fong have made the call to pit lane. So let's get down to Jeff.
Earl Perrent brings his McLaren down here on pit lane. Ben Barnicoat getting ready to hop in right now. Just right beside us is going to be Michael Shine and James Serfronis. They're all pitting here. It's getting exciting down here on pit lane.
It is the 88 Bentley in as well. Adderley Fong will be turning over to Vincent Abril, who's in the middle of a fabulous season racing in Europe as well. See what happens here. Again, it's 60 seconds for the Pro category, the All-Pro category, Pro-Am and Am-Am, which is the number 16 and 14, 90 seconds.
Yeah, so that 16 car will be sitting there a little bit longer than the 9 car.
They're doing a tire change on the 16 as well.
You have these 4 jokers that you can utilize throughout the course of the year, Greg. Mancinelli stays out, so did he encounter traffic? Is he laying down hot laps?
Both he and Cox, they opted to pass on it last time, and Eversley stayed out as well.
You've got to break that in, the timing mark, that pit in.
Right.
With 25 minutes still on the clock to go in this race. So they got about 7 minutes to work on that.
Here's the 44, Magnus. This is their home track. John Potter getting out, lives in Salt Lake City. Turns over to Marco Seefried. They've been driving together pretty successfully over the, I think their first season of pairing when they decided to team up for the endurance races, they ended up winning the 12 Hours of Sebring. So it's like, let's keep this team together.
Yeah, they love Marco. He's a great fit. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you don't have enough time to really establish relationships when it's just for 5 weekends of the year. You get thrown in together. Jeff, one of the Acuras is in.
Yeah, Ryan Eversley brings the Acura down as Tom Dyer going to get in the car. Ryan's going to assist him on this driver change. They're really just polishing up the rear view camera for their spots to see. They don't have rear view mirrors looking out the back of these cars, and cleaning everything off, making sure everything's okay as they try to get this seatbelt having a problem for Eversley here on the Acura.
You have a little bit of a buffer, but not a ton of time for something to go wrong, even though you got to be in pit lane for 60 seconds. You can't afford a disastrous driver change, and that's essentially all they were doing here, and then managing the clock.
Ooh, sounded for a minute like it may not start. I wonder if they may have had a problem there.
Well, I think maybe it may be temperature related, but obviously you're going to get a lot of heat soak there, and it's not naturally going to just fire back into life.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the number is for that pit stop. He is back out. As you said, you tend to, obviously, with that 60 seconds. Here we go. Here comes Cox. Mancinelli has made up some ground here. So Cox's plan is to stay out and open up a little margin. Not happening here. Let's see what happens here.
He's in.
Cox is in. Mancinelli stays out. He thinks he's got pace.
Yeah, if he can lay down some hot laps, and then it's all down to the pit stop time. But if you do equal pit stops, and Mancinelli lays down some hot laps, it's going to come down to Mark Wilkins' out lap to compare against Mancinelli's in lap. Typically, the guy in rhythm is going to have faster lap time, so this could be significant.
Well, we saw something similar play out at the second race at Lime Rock Park, didn't we, with the number 4 Audi?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff.
Well, the scene down here was everybody stay calm, slow is fast. Cox pulls his gloves off. Mark Wilkins hopping into the car right behind us. You see your points leader, Michael Cooper, coming down in the Cadillac. But it's just business as usual here in real time. Make sure we get all the connections up. Plenty of time to get this pit stop done, Cal.
Yeah, and Mark Wilkins is used to both sprint race format and a lot of endurance success as well. Winning Daytona, one Sebring, one Petit. He's won all of the big ones. And Peter Cox, that experienced hand, just gives him a calm, cool, collected piece of advice. Maybe just telling him about the balance of the car. Mark gets the off, good clean out. You got to pop a few more revs, Greg, because those tires are hot. So don't get caught out and stall the car and get into panic mode.
Well, and Peter, it looked like they were, the two of them were just having a nice casual conversation. Ooh, Mancinelli getting by and Yuki Hirata, but it took him a couple of laps to do that, Cal. And he caught him in a tough spot of this track, got way off line into the attitudes.
Yeah, that could be really significant, of course.
But yeah, I like the casual conversation that Cox and Wilkins had during that exchange. Now, what does Mancinelli do here? He's heading into the last couple of corners.
He could probably do this lap plus another one and not come up too close to that cutoff time. And now he dives to pit lane. Now this is where you can, he's really taken in there deep. And this is one of the things that the drivers need to get a well down right there where that board is. Right there is where that pit stop delta time, the pit lane speed limit start. This is a team that really just burst onto the scene at St. Petersburg, Greg. We didn't know much about them, didn't know much about Mancinelli. I'd have to say they've kind of been the revelation of the season in terms of surprises.
I think so too. And how are they doing on the stop, Jeff?
Well, it's great to see the TR3 Racing, not a lot of experience like we talk about, but every single crew member behind the wall sitting here with stopwatches, trying to get it absolutely precise to maximize that pit lane delta down here on the end. The driver change is done, now just waiting for the clock to tick down to get to the release.
Revs come up, just waiting for the signal from the team that are very carefully minding the time. They release.
A couple of teams that I see may have run afoul of, they're in the Pro-Am division. Number 10 car, looks like they were about 4 seconds shy of the 90-second delta, and Hirata.
Oh, look at this. What a stop that team executed, and they have made it work. So staying out that extra couple of laps, even with that traffic, nicely done.
Well, it may have come down to those in and out laps. Do you know what I mean? It's hard for a driver just to get out there and get into a rhythm immediately versus someone who's just got 25, 30 minutes under their belt.
These guys have been a great story, and of course had that great win at VIR. Didn't have the guy behind the wheel now, Nicolas Caro, as the co-driver for Mancinelli, but had Andrea Montermini as the co-driver, and happened to be Montermini's 300th race and ended up getting a win.
He's such a cool personality. It's fun to watch.
Nicolas Caro, a young, very quick driver coming up here. we're getting reports from some of the corner marshal stations that there are spots of the track that are getting very, very, you can see it, very, very light misting back there. A lot of times here in the desert, it looks like it's raining hard and it just barely gets to the ground.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
to be sitting out there just a few minutes ago on the pre-grid with the sun blazing down, and now there's a shower in the air potentially.
Yep. It's the exit of that Tuella turn. You can see Skidrow actually was well up onto that curb, but that part of the track, the stewards have said, you know, that's a huge curb. We're giving them a little bit of extra room there. We understand on that part of the track, and I think he'll be fine there. Now the question is, what can Wilkins do with the lead of Skidrow in the Ferrari?
Yeah, a lot of that will just come down to tire degradation. How did your co-driver,
that's a good point,
you know, work those tires over in the first half of this race?
Cox comes through.
3.3 seconds is the gap right now.
And Bergmeister up into third, but boy, they lost something in that exchange, and they were one of the earlier teams to pit. Now they're 9 seconds back, Cal.
Yeah, and the 43 car has dropped a couple of places too. Remember, Eversley had that 43 Acura up to the third spot. Tom Dyer now showing in the 5th position, just going to wait, make sure that timing is scoring a cycle, which I believe it has. So I think that's accurate. You got Bergmeister in 3rd, taking over from Pat Long. O'Connell switch up there with Ricky Taylor doing the qualifying chores there. He's up to 4th. So they leapfrogged around the Acura.
Yeah, they did. And interesting, remember when Dyer was leaving the pits, it took a moment for the car, it died, and it wouldn't restart the first time, and that may have been just the margin here that cost them 3 positions at this stage.
Yep, absolutely. That's all it takes. It was very close there between those cars, and if you lose just a couple of seconds, they're getting light back into that machine. And if you were being a bit conservative with your pit stop delta as well, everything gets blown out, and that will cost you.
Well, the very quick young Daniel Mancinelli out of this beautiful yellow Ferrari, and he's with Jeff.
Well, Daniel, superb drive. You stayed right there, and you guys were able to get the jump on the pit stop.
Yeah, it was a good stint for me. I was quicker, a little bit quicker than Acura, but I couldn't overtake him because he was too fast in the straight. And but I tried to push hard for let him maybe to have a mistake. He didn't, but I did last lap quite stronger because he came in the pit 1 lap before me, and now Skidrow Nicola he takes my car, and he's doing. We are leading. He's doing good race. We have a strong car and a good team.
We'll see if they can get their 2nd win of the season here at Salt Lake City.
Well, Daniel drove a beautiful opening stint, no question about that, Cal.
He really did. Really impressive young man. He got a little feisty, and stewards had to sit him down a little bit and calm him down. He was ruffling some feathers there with some of his aggressive driving tactics earlier in the game. But that's what happens when you get into a new series. You know, particularly come from Europe, it's a little bit more cut and thrust. I mean, I think they allow for a little bit more aggressive driving style in Europe compared to the US. I certainly had to live through that when I made my transition over. I didn't make many friends in the first year of competition, so I think Daniel settled in nicely now through the second half of this season.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's learned the approach to racing in North America here, and is doing a nice job, Nicolas Skidrow. He came over, and I mean, he too was a driver that, ooh, boy, he is pushing it, bounding over those curves, Cal.
Yeah, he's a great talent. Certainly has shown a lot of speed here, and he's just got to be cool here. I mean, he's got 22 minutes still to run. Wilkins is not a real threat at this point of the game, so don't abuse those tires too much and take too much out of it. If you get a reset with a late race caution, you got to have something to fight with.
Just taking a look in our Pro-Am category, it's still the 16 Wright Motorsport Porsche that Jan Halen now has taken the helm from the great stint that Michael Shine did. The number 14 sits in 2nd with Mathieu Jaminet, and then the number 70. It's kind of an interesting story in the 2nd of the Team Bentley Absolute Bentley Continentals. It's a new driver pairing in that car here this weekend, and Andrew Kim started it, and the pro part of that equation is a guy who's done some racing, at least one race for sure in Abu Dhabi in 2014 in Formula One, Will Stevens.
He did quite a few races together with the Manor Group, and had a big victory at Le Mans this year in GTEM with the JMW Group. So he's a really talented guy. Tim Sugden, an ex-racer, helps him out in terms of managing his career a little bit, and found this opportunity with the Bentley. And he said the car's big. He said, but you know, I got used to that very quickly. He's just getting used to this racetrack. So a lot of firsts for Will Stevens, but he's a real talent, and great to see him on the grid today.
One of the comments he made to me is he said, I know I'm British, but this is the first time I've raced a car that's right-hand drive. He said,
that's pretty funny.
It's a little awkward, but he said it's obviously a lot bigger. It's front engine. He said it's just a different beast, but he certainly doesn't waste time getting to know it here. And here is Jan Halen, continues to lead, as we said, in the Pro-Am category. In the Am-Am category, the 013 still leads that Ferry Motorsport Ferrari, doing a great job there as well for that team. But Shine and Halen, I mean, look at the margin they've got built up here right now. The number 14, don't even see him at this stage.
Yeah, Jan Halen has been a driver coach with this group for a while, and it's all down to chemistry and fit, and they knew exactly what they were getting in terms of speed behind the wheel and ability to work in tandem with Michael Shine here on a regular basis.
Just updating you, 8th right now in the Pro-Am category is Ricardo Sanchez in the 75 Nissan, and is keeping an eye on some lap times here. And he's running right now around the group he's mired in. He's running 4 seconds a lap quicker, so he'll be frustrated knowing that they had that kind of speed and just not able to do anything with it once again due to just some terrible misfortune. Here's your Am-Am leader, Drew Riggins. Takes over from Chris Wilson. You know, when Drew first came into the Pirelli World Challenge and I hadn't met him, I wasn't sure, I wasn't familiar with him, and I took a stab and called him Drew Riggins. And then when I met him, he said, hey, I love the sound of it, but it's just Riggins. And I said, you know, Drew, when I ran into him, I said, now that you're driving a Ferrari, I got to go old school. You're now Drew Riggins.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with your co-driver. I guess he's just Chris. But they're having a lot of fun out. They're just a great couple of guys, and it just was still as bizarre to see him walking around the paddock in the Ferry red Ferrari shirts.
I know.
But boy, they adapted quickly.
They really have. And
but there's the second place car. If we stay in the shot coming out of the attitude, there comes the second place car. It's that close.
Yeah, and it looks like Cisneros is going really well right now. So this could be a great battle here between the Ferraris. And that car just looks beautiful, doesn't it? In the Ferrari red with those gold wheels. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, so evocative of the Ferraris, the endurance Ferraris of the 70s. It's just glorious. Here comes Bergmeister now. Whoa! Skeeto! A little too.
We said he was pushing hard. Wilkins is through. Wilkins is through for the lead. So a mistake by Skiro has given the lead to Mark Wilkins. And I'd seen on a couple of laps there that Skirou, I'm not sure if it was traffic or not. We were off him in terms of showing him on camera whether he encountered traffic or not. But certainly a couple of laps there that allowed Mark Wilkins to get a little bit closer. Maybe that just put the pressure on for him to make a little mistake here. Not sure if it was traffic induced or whether he just went off the road by himself.
Well, we saw how hard he was pushing up through the attitudes a couple of times, just bounding over the curves and the car bouncing and stepping out and everything. He certainly was... you know, I think he was past the edge into the ragged edge territory a couple of times. Yeah, there's Wilkins up front.
17 minutes to go. A lot of laps still to run here, but mistake by the Ferrari has given Acura the lead. Can they get their first victory in this series with that NSX platform? It's been a big day so far. Can Mark Wilkins bring it home?
Well, and the one thing that's going to play into the real-time Acura cam's hands here for Mark Wilkins, we've talked about it, is that car continues to maintain about 4 miles an hour quicker than a lot of the cars out there in a straight line, including that Ferrari. And, you know, that's going to come in real handy near the end of the race.
Yeah, looking at the sector times, Wilkins and Skiro equal in sector 1 there, but in sector 2, Skiro had about 3 to 4 tenths on him. You'd have to think in the final sector down the straightaway, the Acura may be a match for them. Wait and see. Try and keep it neat, hit your marks. No pun intended. And bring it home. This is big for Acura. They're trying to turn this program into a full-on customer program moving forward. Made the announcement there. Oh, there we see, just by mistake.
Yeah.
Just lost it there, kind of breaking in, and Wilkins was a lot closer, because remember that gap was around 3.5 seconds. It looked like it might have been just a couple of seconds at that stage, and that may have forced Giro to keep pushing.
Well, and that was the exit of clubhouse into windup, and I think he was mindful of the Acura's straight line speed, so he really was trying to carry speed in those last 2 turns, Cal, and just pushed too hard, maybe.
Yeah, certainly. And looking at the last lap time, Wilkins about just under a 10th quicker, so they're pretty even in terms of their relative lap times at the moment. But you know Skiro's going to be wanting to make up for that little error there, and going to be pushing and digging deep everything that Ferrari's got. But certainly in sector 3, the important one to the stripe, Mark Wilkins has a little bit of an advantage in sector 3 of this racetrack.
Well, and I wonder, too, I mean, we've talked about it. The nature of this track is somebody drops a wheel and you get the dust up in a corner, and you see that happen. You go through clubhouse, you carry too much speed, you run wide on the exit, and you dump a bunch of stuff into the approach to windup, and maybe somebody got through and greased her up a little bit with some, as they call it, Tuella dust.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I hate to put it all on the shoulders of the driver right now, but either way, it's down to these guys. That's part of the game, Greg. You know what I mean? You got to fit. Oh, he's really used a lot of the track limits there, and it's different for different series. But here in the Pirelli World Challenge, Brian Tillon, the driver stewards, are basically saying you have to maintain at least 2 tires on the racing surface. The curbs do not count as the racing surface, so 2 tires have to essentially be on the blacktop.
Battle here, the number 3, Johnny O'Connell.
And Dyer, they got hurt by traffic big time.
And I think that Enrique Cisneros, got around and picked up the lead on Wilson. Let's watch it, the back of the frame. I think Cisneros maybe got by on Wilson, so we'll see if we can pick up here. Yes, he did.
Wow. Well, that's a huge gap to establish in just one lap. So I'm not sure if Wilson is slowing down, had a bobble or what, but to grab the lead and establish that much of a gap in just a single lap since we last cycled through the start-finish line is huge.
Yeah, and that's my bad. That's Riggets behind the wheel of that car now, taking over from starting driver Wilson. But I tell you what, Johnny opened up a quick margin of about 4 or 5 car lengths in traffic. Once they both cleared traffic, look at how quickly Dyer just closed him down again. Yeah, well, Tom Dyer has a lot of talent, and this is a great opportunity for him that he's grabbed with both hands with this real-time program. The whole group believe highly in his abilities. Boy, he gets down the straights in a hurry, too, in that car, doesn't he, Dyer?
Yeah, that doesn't hurt.
157 ply. It's the fastest top speed we've seen yet in this race.
Well, Steve Cole's giving me a hard time for saying that the Cadillacs were extremely quick down the straightaway at Mid-Ohio, but I can say I'm looking at data, Steve Cole, and you're about 5 miles an hour slower than the guy behind you.
But as you said, Tom Dyer also isn't it? You know, he's one of those guys that to me kind of slipped through the net just a little bit. I mean, he's such a good, solid driver.
But this game is all about relationships, Greg, and sometimes drivers disappear because they just can't afford to be just hanging out at the racetrack. They have to go on and find another life. But Tom Dyer established a reputation as always being quick, always extremely fit, and a good guy. You have to have that likability factor. It doesn't matter how quick you are as a driver. When you go through these peaks and valleys of a career, you need people to like you, and people like Tom Dyer.
Well, and I thought Johnny might get hurt a little bit behind that number 10, which is the Lamborghini from DXDT. Jeff Burton behind the wheel. And Johnny, pretty savvy is the reason. Johnny understood what he needed to do, gapped him, made sure he got a good run onto the straight, and didn't lose the air on the nose, and was able to make that work and lead him down into turn 1. Yeah,
top 5 looks comfortable for Tom Dyer. I'm not sure top 4 will be so comfortable because he's going up against one of the very best.
Yes.
In 4-time Pirelli World Challenge champion Johnny O'Connell, still very much totally on top of his game.
He sure is. And Dyer, that really didn't help there. He got trapped behind that DXDT Lamborghini all the way through that very fast flowing section of track. Then had to make the move down into Black Rock, and get off line there, so you're a little slow coming out, heading into turn 6.
Looking at the gap at the front is at 1.7 seconds. First sector again, they seem to be even Steven through there, running identical lap times, Wilkins and Scarrow. Second sector is where the Ferrari seems a little bit quicker, Greg. Seems to gain 2 or 3 tenths, and then sector 3, so far in this event, is where Wilkins will then get the margin back again. Very even over the lap.
Yeah, in the last lap, Scudo was throughout that entire lap, was about 4 tenths quicker. So he's got speed, just a matter of time. 11 minutes remaining here. And even though this is round 7 of 10, there's actually 5 rounds left, including this one, because the second round at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park got rained out, essentially. So we're literally halfway through the season, starting the second half right here.
That gap at the front, Greg, has got down to 1.3 seconds.
Wow.
Scarrow was half a second quicker in the final sector. I'm not sure if Mark Wilkins encountered traffic trying to get on this front straightaway. Those really tight, twisty bits there through wind up and release. If you catch a car there, nothing you can do about it.
Look here at the number 55, now in the hands of Alessandro Bressan in the Dream Racing Lamborghini Super Trofeo Huracan. And they are sitting second in GT Cup overall right now. There's the leader in GT Cup, and it's an Am-Am pairing, so this is impressive. Corey Friedman having taken over from Joe Toussaint in that Autometrics Porsche. And right now, Corey doing a superb job, leading the GT Cup Am field, second in GT Cup overall. It's Andy Lee, not a big surprise there, Cal, to have the 95 Tool Racing Porsche in the hands of one of the best drivers to ever set foot in a GTS car out front here.
Yeah, talking to drivers slipping through a net, we certainly hope that Andy Lee doesn't do that, because he is a great talent and has found a nice new home for himself. Great to see him back here on at least in the SprintX rounds. I mean, we'd love to see him here on full time, of course.
York Bergmeister now.
Traffic, and he'd actually eaten into the lead of the 2 leaders, and look how close it is up front.
Oh boy.
Mark Wilkins now is going to be under pressure from that Ferrari. He's got to try and stay cool here.
This is it, into wind-up.
We mentioned on that last lap, Scarrow took a big chunk out of that lead on Mark Wilkins. I think Wilkins may have encountered traffic coming through these final couple of corners to create that. And this straightaway, this is where the Acura has it here this weekend. Solid 4 miles an hour most of the time over the Ferrari.
Up on the back of Jason Hart in that 47 NOLA Sport car, both easily able to slide through. And Wilkins may be able to get a couple of car lengths back down that straight. But it's going to be interesting to see now what happens by the end of this lap. What happened on that lap in terms of time? Wow. Almost a half second quicker.
Yep, he's got pace. So despite that mistake, Ferrari got tires underneath him. It's a hot day here. You're trying to manage everything. A lot of teams are very concerned even about engine temperatures, Greg.
Yep.
And I spoke to the Ferrari boys there, the 31 team, and they said we worked on the car hard last night to make sure that all of the inlets and everything cooling-wise was perfectly where it needed to be. Look at the different line there.
Yep.
Scarrow there, maybe he's probably thinking, well, Wilkins won't be watching this. Maybe I can surprise him with a move there. When he gets close enough into turn 6, what they call the right hook.
Up into the attitudes. Boy, Scudo carries a lot of speed into that first attitude. It's down to 2 car lengths. And Scudo, that Ferrari right now just looks to be stuck.
It really does. Mark just trying to hang on here. Both guys using kind of right on the verge of the track limits there. We saw the Ferrari kind of running over that margin a little bit earlier here.
They're coming up in the back of the 95 Tool Porsche of Andy Lee. Andy's a very savvy driver. He knows just get out of this turn quickly. Don't hold them up. And now here we go. And this is where you would think Wilkins would just gain a couple of car lengths back.
Yep.
Is that about 3/10 this lap that Scudo
3/10 he took out of him, yeah. Could just come down to traffic. How do you catch him? Oh, Wilkins there. He wasn't sure of the language of the 95 car, if he'd seen him or not. He had to be careful. Just a slight delay there, and I think Scarrow didn't get delayed, so advantage the Ferrari once again.
Well, and that's one of the interesting bits of chess when you're up against this. You got a Pro-Am car in front of you, and you're not sure. At this stage, the pro's in it, but what quality pro is he? And it turns out it's Andy Lee, who's one of the best. So he opened the wheel up and let him come through. But yeah, you can see that little bit of indecision, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, if the Porsche suddenly came down, you're going to throw the race win away, or certainly a podium run there. So you can't just take it for granted. Look at that Ferrari, very different line.
Yeah, it is.
Probably relying on the ABS there to get it turned without locking up the fronts. But that could be his planned move, Greg. If he gets a little bit closer to Mark Wilkins, not a typical overtaking opportunity, but if he wedges it down the inside, there's a little bit argy-bargy. Who knows what could happen?
Puts an Italian boot in it.
Things settle down once again, and you have to think about that aero effect. We talked about it earlier in this race. Now suddenly Scarrow is close enough. Look at him using all those curbs. I know that Brian Till has been all over these boys this weekend, and I've seen him do that a couple of times. So I would think that he's not that far away from an official warning. I think it was going to initially be just a chat from one of the pit lane officials. Look at Wilkins here hanging on. The Ferrari seems to be able to carve a different line right now in the late going. 5 minutes to go. Can Wilkins and Acura hang on for their first win of 2017? There's Peter Cox hanging over the wall, egging his boy on.
Any encouragement he can give, willing him through these final 5 minutes down into turn one. Wilkins feeds it in. Skeeto, Bergmeister, 14 seconds back, and Skeeto just on the edge of adhesion there.
He is throwing everything at it right now, including the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling, watching him earlier this year, if he gets close enough, Greg, he's going to go for it.
Yeah, he's an aggressive young guy. O'Connell is fourth, and he's opened up about 4 seconds over Dyer. So he's got a little bit of breathing room. Then there's 7 or almost 8 seconds back to the number 9 McLaren of Barnicoat, having taken over from Perez.
Yeah, and looking at the lap times of these leaders, they're laying down the fastest laps of the race of anyone right now. Skiro had that look into turn 6. They call it the right hook. Could it be the knockout punch?
Exactly. Well, the interesting thing is you can see he loses a little bit coming out because he's turning in so early. But I think you're right.
Oh, Wilkins a little slip there. He's pushing hard. He knows that victory is on the line here. He's got to dig deep. Doesn't attack that curb quite as aggressively as the Ferrari.
Now let's see the line through this one and the use of the curb on the exit.
Again, the Ferrari's all the way over the white line. I'd hate to see this one get reversed with a penalty call, and essentially, Greg, is going to be if they do get that call. This is the tricky part to defend right here. Ferrari wedges it down the inside. Mark Wilkins takes that inside line away. He has to. He's just got to work on the straightaway speed that the Acura has demonstrated here this weekend. Just don't open the door.
Here's Nathan Bonneau up on top of the box for the real-time Acura team. Okay, we're getting a report, Cal, and it makes sense. Next time by, white flag. So this lap and one more, and Wilkins has to survive the attack.
Well, he's done a really nice job. He's a really cool, calm, collected driver, Greg. Very rarely makes a mistake, but he is feeling the heat right here to get his first GT World Challenge victory. Had a number of wins for Kia in GTS, knocked on the door of a couple of championships, but this is another league right here, and he's doing a fine job so far. But that Ferrari is not going away.
No, every time Wilkins gets a little margin down that straight, the Ferrari closes it up. And see if Skeeto is once again looking at that line. It's almost like he's laying his own grip down there, getting some rubber down, cleaning the track off.
I'll have to think he's being that savvy, but maybe he is. Last time through there, Wilkins really slipped a little bit, looked more under control, platform underneath him that time through. Fascinating battle.
It is. Great stuff.
Love to get the debrief on this one as to in terms of what was going on with that Ferrari with the little errors. Peter Cox looks on.
He's nervous, you can see it. Skeeto now starts flashing the lights.
Tell you what, though, Wilkins has done a nice job. He hasn't wasted lap time by defending unnecessarily. This is where I think he's vulnerable. Right here, that Ferrari really seems to carve a different line.
Yeah, it does.
And he's just got to do what he's doing middle of the road there, because if he opens up that inside lane, we've seen it here before in Pirelli World Challenge competition. If you go for it, it typically ends up in tears.
All right, last lap, 1 to go. That's the margin, folks. Just to let you know, in GT Pro-Am, Jan Halen still leads it, but Mathieu Jaminet has been throwing down flyers and is close to within 6 seconds, and they were well back of that. Marco Seifried is a bit farther back, so there's a good two-car battle on his last lap there, and Cisneros has been able to gap Riggins here a bit and now leads comfortably in the Am-Am category. But this battle, closest one by far, couple of car lengths, Cal.
You could say Mathieu is jamming.
Oh, boy.
Hey.
He always does, it seems.
Mark Wilkins.
That'd be really funny if he was French-Canadian. But he's just French.
Speaking of Canadians, the Canadian leading this race
Boy,
right now.
Doing a job.
And he's got that precious few car lengths to take the pressure off. You can see him there, though. He's really twitching. He is digging deep in the anchor. Someone's run wide there right in front of him. What does the Ferrari have in the final half lap as the real-time boys
They're interested.
look on?
Here we go. Ooh, wide a little bit for Mark. Got it to turn.
Oh, he is struggling for
Yes,
grip.
he
He
is.
is struggling for grip. Here comes the Ferrari looking to the inside. Can Wilkins hang on? He's slipping. Wilkins
the
is
Ferrari.
slipping. Here comes the Ferrari.
Down into clubhouse. Can he make the inside work? No, not
Wilkins
quite.
takes it in deep. No defensive driving. Just took the regular racing line. Just took it in super deep. 2 corners to hang on to for victory.
And Mark knew what was coming. He kept it pinned to the apex there, Cal. Does it again here. It's a drag
He's
race.
slipping. It's going to be a drag race down this front straightaway. The Ferrari's right there.
Skeeto trying to gas it, can't do it. Acura gets its first win in Pirelli World Challenge. The altitude is high and the celebrations are equally so here. Utah Motorsports campus, the Canadian in the Japanese car in the Utah desert. What a story. Some good scrapping going on here in the Pro-Am, or the Am-Am and Pro-Am section of GT Cup. Corey Friedman in the number 90, hanging on at this stage over that number 10 Lamborghini. Here's your battle in the Pro-Am category, Jan Halen, and you can see that blue Porsche behind him.
Oh.
He is just flying. What the last lap, he made up almost 2 seconds on that last lap alone, Cal.
Yeah, just amazing. You got to think that Jan Halen is maybe managing this race, but Jaminet doesn't know that. He's got that carrot in front of him. He wants a win. He's digging deep.
He's got one more corner. Well, this one and then the final one release. And I think Halen, as you said, has managed it. He knows what he's got. Feeds that right Motorsport Porsche throttle. And in the Pro-Am class, Porsches sweep the top 2 in Pro-Am here in SprintX at Utah Motorsports campus. What a great run for those two.
Oh, look at this.
Argy-bargy, as you said. They are side by
Last
Trent
couple of
Hinman.
corners.
That's Hinman inside the 09 of Derek DeBoer. And they're still touching and grinding, and it's DeBoer just barely coming through and picking up that one. Wow, fantastic for the GTS. That's the Pro-Am battle. Up front, though, the 47. What a great drive by Jason Hart in the 47. Was able to lead the entire GTS contingent through that NOLA Sport Porsche. So a good day for Porsche here. Certainly, but that's the story. Acura.
Wow, that was a nail-biter, Greg.
All the way to the
Mark
end.
Wilkins, I think he was running on zero grip there at the end. He was pushing hard, and the car just didn't want to give it to him. He hung on beautifully. I tell you what, that run in the clubhouse corner, I thought the Ferrari was going to dive it down the inside, and Wilkins just stayed cool and just took the regular racing line and just carried the entry speed through there. Beautiful job, but that was that was definitely down to the wire in every sense of the word.
Well, he said this is a track that has been somewhat nice to him. This was a good day.
Yeah, it's paid him back because losing that GTS title when he had about a 100-point lead, I think, coming into the doubleheader to finish the year, and seeing it going away with 2 mechanical gremlins for him, this is a big day.
And there it is. And Mark Wilkins going to climb out of that car. What a fabulous story. Look at that, the energy, the enthusiasm. He knows how important this is. As soon as he gets that helmet off, Jeff Lepper is there, and we are going to hear from our winner. Mark Wilkins, you said it, first time GT win, and also first win in Pirelli World Challenge competition in the Acura. Getting some celebrations from the crew.
We gotta go.
But let's get down to Jeff, and we got to get Mark get that helmet off so we can get a quick chat with him here.
Well, Mark Wilkins getting the helmet off, superb drive. He said this track's been okay to you or good to you, but it's been superb for you here today.
You know, that was just like a few years back. It was that close. This Acura NSX was awesome. We can't say enough about real time, all of HPD, Acura. What a wonderful car. These guys have been working so hard. They feel a bit bad because they've done a lot of hard work, and then I get in and they give you a nice car to drive. So kudos to Peter Cox, drove awesome. Great to get the pole, great to run up front, and then I was a bit nervous. I tried to keep my head on, so very good result. Thrilled to get that P1 for Acura.
Yeah, finally the debut win here in Pirelli World Challenge for that Acura NSX GT3.
Absolutely. They've been working at it for a while and doing a great job, and it all comes good here. And, well, I'll tell you, they just had a car that was clicking here at this track.
They did, but with all of these groups, Greg, it's one thing to have the car, then to execute.
Yes,
that's the bigger part of the program as well.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of the championship pictures, we said Cooper and Taylor leading in the Cadillac coming in. They finished back in 8th. Dial and Murad were 2nd. They struggled a little bit, and for where they fell down the order with a 9th place finish, so that's not going to help. Pompelli was 3rd coming in, and that's bad. But the interesting thing here is Pat Long, who was in the 5th spot coming in here. He and Bergmeister end up now in 3rd, so some things spinning there. We have to check in with this very talented Ferrari team, and of course the driver that brought it home at the end, Jeff. He gave us some excitement.
Well, Nico Schroll, you had a little bit of a mistake there, but able to recover and try to battle back for that win.
Yeah, the mistake is caused by a little rain, but anyway, yeah, it shouldn't happen. I'm sorry with the team for the result, but yeah, it's always important point. So let's see tomorrow for a win.
Well, definitely heads are down here, but still a podium finish for this Ferrari.
Absolutely, and we'd heard those reports of rain. Didn't
Wow.
quite know it was over.
That would explain it, because it's kind of a
Absolutely.
lazy spin, and if you suddenly got a little sprinkle there right in that corner, the good news is he laid down the fastest lap of the race, or Mancinelli did early in the going at 1:49.9, which stands for pole position for tomorrow, but they're going to have the Acura, it looks like, right alongside them, so let the battle resume here tomorrow afternoon.
You could just see how gutted that young man was, but boy, did he give it a ride. Coming back after it, and Manson, I mean, both of those drivers in that car were just absolutely flying.
Magic, and the strategy worked out. I mean,
Yes,
if you can
yes.
sort of kind of run a little bit longer and get clear laps, and your guy's been in the car is going to be a little bit quicker than someone getting immediately in. So hats off to the team. Great strategy. Just didn't quite work out today.
Now we find out, was Jan Halen managing, or was he frightened? Jeff?
Well, Greg Creamer asked the question, Jan, were you strategizing there, or were you frightened there at the end?
No, we were just cruising. Right Motorsports and Porsche gave us a really good car, and Mike's last lap was stunning, was killer. So yeah, we had a good out lap, good first 2 laps of my stint, put the gap on him, and then basically just maintained the gap. We got a little closer at the end with the Ferrari holding us up, but all in all, it was a perfect race.
And Michael, you got to tell us about that pass there right before the pit stop.
Yeah, first off, thanks to Right Motorsports and Porsche. It took a lot of work to get the car where it is today. It's been a struggle all weekend, but we got it right today. Yeah, about the pass. I mean, James got by me with the whole tussle with the Gainsco and the Audi, and you know, that wasn't good in my mind. So I got a good run coming out of 3, and you know, the opportunity was there, and I had to take it and give Jan the car in the lead. So, and he drove a great race, pulled away, and happy to get the win.
Well, great win here for that Right Motorsports team.
Boy, it was that, no question about it. And again, they talked about it. Gemini was laying down some laps as well, so I think it was a combination of things that got it real interesting at the end.
Michael
there.
Shane kind of gave us the indication there must have been some contact between the Magnus Racing Audi and Wolf Hensler and the Gainsco machine there. He's right in the middle of that picture.
So that was something we were wondering about. Seems to be answered. So that wraps up this round of the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championship. First of the double headers here. We are going to be doing it again tomorrow, and the racing here starts tomorrow. The GTS race at 10 in the morning. The SprintX race will be right at noon, so you're not going to want to miss that. But today, we're by no means done either. We're going to take a little break in very short order. We are going to be back with the first of the two races for GTS in the Pirelli World Championship here. That's the GTS Championship presented by Kasich. That is 3:10. We will be back with you here on our global webcast. So you got about 20 minutes to go grab your next beverage and settle in.